Is going on, everybody? Welcome to another great of edition of The Hit. I am your man, Logan Graffia. He is the fantastic Calvin Rhines. And before we get started, Calvin, please enlighten us on what your background is today.
So this is a rifle that is the color red. The red rifle, as people would call it, which just so happens to be the name of the Saints QB1 from last game, Andy Dalton. So to show support for my QB1, as I will always do, I will have my background as this. So
I'm glad you cleared that up because, some people would have probably, try to cancel us over that. So, anyway, let's get into the first topic today college football. And there was a lot of games that happened over the weekend. One of them was LSU, but before we get into LSU, a few of them that I just want to, touch briefly on. Alabama, Arkansas. Arkansas came close and then out of just nowhere. Bama just exploded. I'm going to be honest. Milroe's a running back at quarterback. I've never seen him. I don't even think I've seen him throw the ball. He's basically just like running back at quarterback, and that run game absolutely destroyed Arkansas after that. And then I want to say, actually, Calvin, what was a game that stood out to you in the top 25? What game was just one of those wow, I can't believe that happened games?
so you got a couple, right? I picked Kentucky to win over Ole Miss,
I did
which
too.
didn't happen. Um, I also picked NC State to beat Clemson. Purely because I played against Clemson. I figured like I have an idea of what they are, but it didn't happen. But once again, we've seen Clemson kind of struggle a little bit. I mean, NC State is number 10, but I still believe that Clemson might be a little bit of a fraud. Georgia narrowly escapes Mizzou, another team that I played against. Mizzou.
Oh yes.
Maybe Mizzou's better than everybody's thinking, man. I'm starting to think that even though they suffered a terrible, stupid loss to Kansas State, but any given Saturday, man, that's how this game works. And also, I think a big game: TCU versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma is cooked. Oklahoma is 0-2 in the Big 12. Everybody, Lincoln Riley is laughing to the bank with his number 6 USC beating the hell
Unbelievable.
out of Arizona State. Um, Man, Oklahoma is just is not doing what they're supposed to, and trying to figure out why. I can't really figure it out, but I mean,
You know
it's
what
Oklahoma.
team is an absolutely surprise this year, Calvin? And I can't believe we didn't think of this in the beginning. Kansas. The Kansas Jayhawks are 5-0, Calvin.
They are 5
We're
and 0, and they're not. They're like 19th right now. Like that's a
they're
little
ranked
disrespectful.
19th. That's
That's
crazy.
disrespectful. Go ahead, and throw them up there in the top 15. Hell, throw them at 10. Like,
Well, I don't want to do all that because I
hey,
mean they still are Kansas, but I mean I can't believe their quarterback Jalen Daniels is wow. He's playing phenomenal. He's just like he's a dog. I gotta give credit where credit is due. Kansas is absolutely surprising me. I
Kansas is
think
here, everybody.
I
Kansas
think
is
the
here.
last time there was actually was it the Charlie Weiss days? I can't remember. I don't if I'm mistake if Charlie Weiss didn't go to Kansas, I must be thinking of something else. But wow, Kansas, Calvin, Kansas. We're not even talking about Kansas Jayhawks basketball. We're talking about college football. It's crazy. But while we're on the topic of crazy games, let's touch briefly on the LSU Auburn game. It was ugly at first.
2008, by the way, that was the last time they were ranked.
Kansas, that it's been a while,
Yes.
Calvin. 2008. That was a wild
They they
times.
have been ranked they've been ranked number 19 times in the most recent 2008. So, yeah, you know,
2008. That was a great year. That was a great year. Interesting year at that. But back to the LSU Auburn game. It started off ugly. It looked like LSU, of course, dug themselves into a hole again, but I didn't think they was gonna get out of it this time, Calvin. They were playing against a quarterback that was a transfer from Oregon originally. He's mobile, and as everyone knows, almost all quarterbacks these days in college are mobile. But it looks like Matt House's scheme on the defense was that if he rolls and he starts scrambling, I want the safeties to drop down and attack. And that is what hurt LSU in the beginning because he would do that. Then, boom, deep ball, big play. Did, never failed. But then in the second half, they adjusted, which I was happy about. It started with the Jay Ward scoop and score for a touchdown. And then the offense finally got going. Jay Daniels in the run game, actually. I think we're kind of. The one thing I want to see get better is the passing game. I mean, I love Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is one of the very few quarterbacks out there in the country who has not thrown an interception and has one of the highest completion percentages in the country, by the way. Love Jaden Daniels. I want to just say that. But I want him to distribute the ball a little bit better. He's doing a good job, but also when I'm looking on film, the receivers aren't getting open as much as people think. And I read one of the LSU media members was at the game, and he said Keishon Butte was open on one play, and I'm thinking I went back and watched it. There was a safety right there. Yeah, he's open, but that safety's coming over, right, Calvin? You and I both know that's the safety's job. So that's not open. If there's a safety right there, he's not open. But I'd like to see him get the ball to Butte more. But I think a lot of teams are trying to, double up on Butte. But I want to get your opinion on this LSU team, not only just for this game, but they have a huge game coming up in Death Valley this weekend against Tennessee. I want to get your opinion on. Do you think what is your opinion on the LSU team going forward?
LSU is a weird team. Uh, they are winning games that they should not be winning in a way, but also should be winning if that makes sense. Um, I'm trying to compare them to an NFL team. I don't know, the Jaguars. I mean, Detroit. I don't know. I mean, they're winning. They're winning when they're not supposed to. But they, all jokes aside, they're starting slow, too slow in the first half every single game. Um, Brian Kelly, though, he is making adjustments. I know if y'all remember me talking about the Saints Falcons game earlier this year, I said the adjustments that were made was a positive, and that shows that maybe your head coach might know a thing or two. So Brian Kelly is in fact showing why he is one of the best coaches in college football history. Uh, you got this team at 4-1. I don't think a lot of coaches will have LSU. Where y'all 4-1 right now? If I'm right.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
4-1. Yeah, 4-1. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
So a lot of coaches wouldn't have LSU's team right now at 4-1. Um, I mean, I need to see more out of Jane Daniels as a QB. I mean, right now he's kind of looking like more of a game manager, if anything. Like he's running when he needs to. I mean, but he went through for like what 80 yards. I mean, come on now, like let's get the yards up a little bit. Um, Kayshawn Butte has to do a better job. I mean, at this point, I already said earlier, I feel like Kayshawn's low key checked out. He's just kind of looking towards the draft. But like, if he's not careful, he may not get drafted where he wants to be with all this quiet quitting. It seems like he's doing. He's kind of being like a Deontay Hardy right now. Who we'll get to him later. Um, yeah, man. LSU's a weird team. I don't have y'all winning against Tennessee though, because Tennessee is a matchup that goes against everything that y'all are. I mean, they're a fast team. They run a play every 12 seconds, I believe the stat was. It's just absolutely insane. Hendon Hooker is a better Jaden Daniels. Don't at me. I mean, they got similar stats, and he also has no interceptions, but he has more touchdowns and a better QBR at like 90. So he's pretty good. It's going to be tough sledding. I mean, anybody can get beat at any given point, but hey, LSU surprises me right now. I mean, I ain't have them winning some of these games, so I mean, I'm give credit where credit is due. But next week is definitely going to be a tell. Next week is going to be a real, true sign of if this team is real because you beat an Auburn team that's a little weak. They had their third string, fourth string, fifth string, whatever string quarterback he was. You beat, New Mexico, whatever, Southern. I mean, this is a true test. This is a top 10 team that you're about to face here. And if you can beat this team, then you are legitimate contenders, and you might be able to do something at that point. But that's what I got.
Well, I mean, I like everything you said, and you're not wrong about anything you said. This weekend, in fact, is a true test for this LSU team. But I want to point out the fact that LSU was ranked for the first time this year, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm very happy about that. They should have been probably ranked, a couple weeks ago after they beat Mississippi State, who was actually ranked a few spots ahead of LSU. Oddly enough, we beat them badly. We came back and beat them badly. LSU has had deficits this year against SEC teams, but they've made adjustments and they have come back, and that's what you call good coaching, and that's what I love about Brian Kelly. I mean, I remember at first when we hired him, I'm like, okay, coming over from Notre Dame, I'm going to give him a shot. I mean, he's won. I'm not, he's won. He's been a great coach for a long time, and you see it. I mean, LSU was a blocked field goal away from going into overtime and possibly being 5-0 right now. Calvin, think about that. This team could be 5-0 right now. If that kick doesn't get blocked, I have faith that we would have won the overtime and we would have beat Florida State. But that was weeks ago. We're talking about now, and this LSU team, the defense alone. I got to give credit to Matt House. That Matt House is doing a terrific job as a DC. I mean, the first half of games is almost like a boxing match. Like it's like the first two rounds of a boxing match. He's feeling these guys out, and then that second half, boom, he's changing it up, and he's going for the blows. I mean, Jay Ward, BJ Ojolari, Ali Gay. I mean, all these guys have just played fantastic in second halves of games when you think the games are lost. But enough about LSU. We got to get into another topic before we get into some NFL football. Let's talk about some Pelicans, Calvin. I had a chance to go to the open practice over the weekend as a fan, not a media member. Me and a friend from college went, had a fun time, and got to see what these guys look like in person. And I know everyone's gonna want to know, what did Zion look like? What did Zion look like, Calvin? When I tell you, when I was sitting in section 101, like row 18, so I was kind of close enough to see him, like got a good glimpse of him. Calvin, he looks to be in terrific shape. I know people are going to question his health still, probably, but he looked to be probably his body looked to be about what it looked like when we saw those highlights of him in high school. I'm not kidding. He looks that good, Calvin. And one player I have to highlight from the open practice is Daquan Plowden. Everyone was actually messaging me saying, "Who is this number 29 guy? Who is this number 29 guy?" I said, "I think this is Daquan Plowden from the summer league." I mean, he's doing windmill donks. I mean, he was going nuts in open practice, Calvin. And I think this Pelicans team we have one two-way spot left. I don't know who we're gonna go after, but I gotta say this team is deep. This team is deep. It has depth. Our starting lineup of CJ, Herb, Bi, Zion, Valanciunas. I dare I say that they could be a top five starting lineup in the NBA, not just the West, but in the NBA. And I don't know if you saw highlights from the open practice, but I want to just get your quick opinion on the Pelicans going into the season because we have preseason coming up, Calvin.
Now, I believe I can't remember what media source it was. Maybe CBS, ESPN. Can't remember, but they had us projected to win 47 and a half games this year, which will put us at third seed in the West.
Mm-hmm.
And I am extremely happy about that because we're also over the Memphis Grizzlies, who are four with like 47. So I see it. I can see 47 wins. I had us at 50 wins. I think we can do it if everything goes perfect. That's like my absolute top. Maybe like 54, but like, I'm a realist. Um, Daquan Plowden. Yeah, if y'all remember us talking about him in summer league, he started off summer league kind of slow, and we are all like, we don't really need him. And then he picked it up tremendously towards the end of summer league to the point where it's like, all right, we have to have this guy on the floor, and he's proven that even here. And it's very interesting because we have a lot of guys who I figure were good enough for a two-way spot. I mean, John Butler's here now. He's an intriguing guy. He didn't really do too much in the summer league like I want him to do, but he's still an interesting guy. 7-1, can shoot. Interesting if you can get him to develop in whatever way you want him to. Jared Butler, I think I don't know if we traded him to another team or traded his rights, can't remember, but I don't think he's on the two-way anymore, which is a little disappointing because Jared Harper is a bucket,
Oh
and I
yeah,
need that man on this team just purely for bucket reasons.
we traded him
Um,
for Javante Smart. Javante Smart was in attendance at the practice. I mean, that's an LSU guy, so I can't be mad at that. Javante,
yeah, it's
I mean,
LSU.
he's a pretty darn good player. But continue what you were saying, Calvin.
Yeah, Javante Smart. I didn't see much of him either, so like you said, he wasn't there or whatever. But um, and then Sebron, he was supposed to be this guy, EJ Liddell. We have guys who that's 4 or 5 guys I just named. And unfortunately, we only have one spot left, and it's going to be tough. And I'm glad I'm not put in that position because that's a really tough position. But I also remember saying that if Zion could get down to like 245, 250, 260, like somewhere between that 245 to 260 range, he's going to be dangerous. And especially if you get down to his high school size and then play like Duke Zion, I mean, we are talking about probably an all generational talent here. I mean,
Oh
we already know
yes.
he's a generational talent, but we might see some Shaq and then Dwight Howard levels of domination here. And that's insane to think about. And he's arguably more athletic. Well, obviously, ain't no even arguing about. He is more athletic than both of them. You can add in the fact that Shaq and them were like 7 feet tall, but Zion has like a 40 something inch vertical without even trying. So I mean, the dude's an athletic freak. So Bi seems to be the leader of this team. I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
that he has naturally put himself into that role. It fits so well, and it's not forced. And he's taking charge. The whole team has a type of chemistry that is so beautiful to see. Like all these guys love to be around each other, and I think that's what's going to push us over. Just that chemistry alone is going to win us about 5 games this year. Like you're going to see it. And I'm just really happy that we have a team that loves to be here and loves to be around each other more than anything else. And Zion's happy, everybody's happy, everybody's locked up under contract, really except for Jax, for the next 4 or 5 years. Like this team is the team that we got, you know, even down to the ninth, 10th man are locked up. Like this is the team, and consistency is what the Pelicans need. Because by God, we have never really had it. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Hopefully they can, not be disappointed. It's like my Saints, but we'll get to them.
And we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I just want to say is, I mean, the players that we have right now, not only are they young, everyone is half of them are locked up until about 2028. The only one that's not is Bi, which is in 2024, which I'm sure he'll get another extension from Griff because I'm sure Griff will just say whatever you want you can have because he's Brandon Ingram. We need him here, and I mean let's just not we can't just forget about Willie Herman Gomez too, which is an underrated bench piece. I mean, he just won MVP in the Eurobasket.
MVP, MVP.
MVP. And he said he didn't expect to get that when he started playing there. I mean, come on now. Willie Herman Gomez. He actually looks really good now too. I mean, he looked like he lost a little bit of weight or I mean, he looks a little bit slimmer but he still look good, but I gotta say, Calvin. I mean, not you was talking about Zion with the Shaq and the Dwight Howard. I mean, if you mix, I know Shaq made a joke about it. It looked like him and Chuck had a baby, but if you mix Shaq and Charles Barkley together, like Phoenix Suns Charles Barkley together with, Lakers Shaq, the sky's the limit for this guy, man. And the sky's the limit for this team. And the franchise win record was with the 2007-2008 team, which was 56. I'm going to make a bold take before we move on to our next topic, and I'm going to say we break that franchise win record this year and get 57 wins. So, with me saying that now, let's move on into a little bit of a sad topic. I'm not used to it, excuse me, being a sad topic, but it was. We all had to wake up early and see our lovely Saints lose. We actually was this close. We was a double, excuse me, a double doink away from going into overtime, which I think we might have won actually. Andy Dalton was playing very well, but What I liked, what the highlight that I have, the player that I have to highlight is Latavius Murray. I mean, he hasn't played here in about a year or maybe even longer,
He
and
hasn't
he
played
just
really consistent
he
snaps
came in,
anywhere.
and I mean, he came in and he didn't miss a beat. He looked better than Ingram has all year, if I have to be honest. And it makes you wonder. It's like, wow, why did we cut Latavius Murray again? I don't even remember why we cut him. I mean, at first when he was here, you know, he was so. He wasn't giving you that what Ingram was originally giving you when it was him and Kamara doing the boom and zoom era back a couple years ago. But Tavius Murray, that's somebody that keep him on the 53. If the running back room is Kamara, Ingram, and Murray, I'm fine with that. Put Tony Jones Jr. on the practice squad, and if you want to keep Dwayne Washington on the 53 too for special teams purposes, be my guest. But Latavius Murray has to be on his 53, and I never thought I'd be going to bat for Latavius Murray like this. But I'd also like to say, outside of that fumble before the half, Andy Dalton looked very, very good. I know a lot of people are going to have different opinions on that, but he looked really good. I mean, he threw a ball to Chris Olave with what was it, 12 seconds left in the fourth
Um,
quarter,
18, 18
18
or
seconds
17
left,
seconds.
and I mean, it was right on the money. It was right on the money. And then there was one ball that if Chris they called DPI, but he threw a fade ball or a floater ball to Chris Olave while he was on the run, and it was going to be right on the money, Calvin. Chris Olave, they called DPI on it because I I'm actually shocked they called DPI on it because the refereeing in that game was atrocious. I mean, Chris Olave was getting mugged, and I'm shocked they called it. But Andy Dalton looked good, man. He looked good outside of the fumble. No interceptions. He had a couple of near misses. I give him that, but he was very accurate. And you and I discussed it on the last podcast. If Andy Dalton plays, you got to run that 2020 Drew Brees style offense. And sure enough, that's what they did. Kind of dink and dunk, but it worked. It works. The short medium game. That is what the Saints have been great at since 2006, Calvin. Since 2006, since Drew and Sean got together. We saw an efficient offense this weekend. We scored points in a quarter outside of the fourth quarter for the first time this season, Calvin. We scored a touchdown, not a field goal, a touchdown. That wasn't in the fourth quarter. And I gotta say, next week, I know people are gonna there's gonna be some people that watch this that are gonna want to crucify me for saying this, but Andy Dalton needs to be the starter next week and maybe for the rest of the season, man. Especially, I mean, he looked good. I mean, unless I'm being blind, and mean, Calvin, I got to get your opinion on this. Am I blind to say that Andy Dalton played well? Is it? I mean, there's a couple people out there that I know are going to watch this and crucify me for saying that. But in your opinion, Calvin, do you think Andy Dalton played well this Sunday, this
I,
past
I
Sunday?
I think he played pretty well, and like we said, if you go in there with the short intermediate game in mind, where the Saints used to get their money and that was their bread basket, um, it's gonna work. I'm still not too pleased with the offense because I get it, we have injuries and all that, but we scored 25 points. That's not what I'm used to as a Saints fan. We were putting up like 35 and still losing games back then. That's the type of expectation I have. Like, we need to be putting up more points. You're happy that we scored a touchdown outside of the fourth quarter, but hey, just to play a little devil's advocate here, James put up 26. That's still the highest all season. So he did that in one quarter basically, and you know, I think that maybe this is just more of the fact that if Andy Dalton gets another week, then we'll see even a better and more efficient offense. But he got the ball out quick. He most of the time got it out pretty accurately. There's a lot of shaky throws, kind of like he threw like two picks that were dropped. So he still looks like Andy Dalton. He's going to win you a game or two. It's just really unfortunate that we didn't win this game. I still think James is going to end up starting for the rest of the season purely because Andy didn't win this game because I don't see Dennis Allen making that tough choice and then when Dennis Allen even thinking about it, he's gonna say, "Oh well, Andy didn't win the game, so I mean our one win is still with Jameis." So I can just see Dennis Allen working that out in his head, and it doesn't really help Andy's case. You know, people are gonna say, "Oh well, Jameis won the game. You know, Andy still lost the game," and you know, hopefully that doesn't take into account whenever we have to potentially start him next week, which I would because I'm not buying that James is going to be healthy after a week. I mean, we're talking about an ankle, but people just forgot he still has his
I
back
think it
injury.
was. I think it's a sprained foot. You still got the four broken back fractures, which is a 6 to 12 week injury for those WebMD Twitter people out there. And then he has a hip flexor injury too. That's three injuries that affect your ability to move. Yeah, you have your arms, but you need your whole body to throw a ball. And you also need your whole body to move around out there, Calvin. As a football player, you need your whole body. It's not about just one part. It's kind of like a car. If one thing in the engine is messed up, the whole car is just you got to take the whole car to the shop. You don't take that one part out, bring it to the mechanic, say, "Oh, fix this." No, you got to buy a brand new part for the car to get it to work. Right now, Jameis has three parts in his engine that are not working. So,
Really 7 parts because
take
you know your
your
back,
yeah, four
your
fractures.
vertebrae that could be like
Yeah,
your pistons. You need them to kind of be working.
right, exactly. And I mean, I want to read some stats that Luke Johnson from the New Orleans Advocate posted for about it was about Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's rankings yesterday, average time to throw was 2.69 seconds, the ninth quickest in the league. Average air yards per completion, 8.7, which was sixth. Average air yards per attempt, 10.8, was fourth. Completion percentage above expectation, 10.9, second in the league. And I want to, there's going to be people out there that are going to say, well, that's not good enough. I got to say, Andy Dalton played well. There's a couple throws where I was just like, whoa, what the heck are you doing? One of them was the Callaway, which was almost an interception. And then, there was the fumble before the half, which was a momentum changer. But all in all, that was the most efficient looking offense we've seen all year long. But I
Most
was
consistent efficient offense because
most
that fourth
consistent.
quarter Falcons one was pretty nice. I mean that
It
one
was,
was pretty nice.
yeah, but that was only good for a quarter. I'll give credit where credit due. That offense in the fourth quarter in that Falcons game was fantastic. But if you go back and look on film, Falcons was playing prevent defense for whatever reason with 10 minutes left. You don't do that with 10 minutes left. So their coach is a big dummy for doing that, by the way. But going back to this game, excuse me. Offense was consistent and efficient. It was balanced. It looked like what you and I just said. It looked like the offense from the season that Drew Brees basically had half his body completely injured, but it worked. We got back to old school Saints football and it worked. We was able to move the ball. And I think next week we should keep that up. And I mean, we still lost the game, but man, that offense I thought looked better this week. It has looked throughout 4 quarters, it looked the best all season. And next week, we're playing against G, a hot Seattle Seahawks team with Geno Smith, which I can't believe Geno Smith, but credit to Geno Smith. That man's playing out of his mind this year. But defense this past weekend, Calvin, wow. I mean, it was just, I wasn't expect. I knew the Vikings offense was good. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, Jordan, Justin Jefferson. I almost said Jordan Jefferson. I'm sorry. Justin Jefferson 10 receptions for almost 150 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Half of them were on Lattimore, but can't put all the blame on Lattimore. There was times where other corners were getting cooked. It's just Justin Jefferson had one of those days, Calvin, where no one can guard him. No one
Yeah.
can guard him. And there was one play where I think it was a third down, a third and long, if I'm not mistaken. It was about to be fourth down. They called a penalty on Tyrann Mathieu for, I believe, illegal hands to the face. And we go back and watch it on film. You and I even texted about it right after it happened. And even the announcers, Mark Sanchez even was announcing saying, where is the legal hands to the face? So we got kind of, screwed on that one. And that gave the Vikings a chance for a touchdown. But a lot of stuff needs to be cleaned up. Because on paper, a lot of people going into the season had this Saints team as a Super Bowl team. I had my doubts because I said, okay, I'm just going to wait for a few injuries to come out because that's how it always works. No one, not there's not. I don't think there's ever been a team in a long time that has not had a single injury throughout the course of the season. And right now, the injury report for the Saints is almost as long as the Cheesecake Factory menu, and that's not good. The injuries came out. There's actually, I think, more injuries this year in the beginning of the season than there was last year in the beginning. I mean, last year we started out 5-2. This year we're starting out 1-3. It's getting to be almost panic button time, Calvin, that you was talking about. And we're not there. We're on the verge. I think if we win this weekend with Andy Dalton as the quarterback, which I hope Dennis Allen puts him in, please let him play. Don't put Jameis out there with basically a broken back. Please do not put him out there with a broken back. Please. Protect him. Protect him from himself and protect him from getting hurt, please. That's what matters. Excuse me. And we gotta get better on defense. The defense has too many damn good players on it to be playing like this. So, with that being said, I want to get your opinion on the matchup against Seattle. What needs to happen for this Saints team to finally come away with a win? And also, following that, if the Saints team this weekend does lose to Seattle, do you think it's time to hit the panic button?
If we lose, it's absolutely time to hit the panic button because we'll be 1-4, and that's just not okay. And it's even worse when you think about it, we don't have a first round pick. Find time to do what you're doing. Find time to be losing when you don't have a first round pick. If you're tanking for Tua, as they say, then that'd be fine if you had your first round pick, but you don't. And if we want to beat Seattle, I mean, the defense I'm not really too worried about. Um, it's just such a weird thing, man, because it's like the Vikings game was so winnable on so many different levels. And even the Panthers game, like I'm still not ready to say that we're an absolute bad team yet. It's just we're not put together yet. Like, just quickly, some points that I have from this game, which will then lead into the Seattle game, like blitz pickup with Andy Dalton. We were picking up blitzes, we were identifying blitzes, and we were getting the ball out quick when we seen it. All right. Deontay Hardy needs to change his last name back to Harris because Deontay Hardy is quiet quitting, and that man did not need to be on this roster anymore if he's going to continue to play like that. Penalties. Good God. I mean, that's 2 games now that we have been decided by late game drive killing penalties. I mean, Tampa Bay goes in for a touchdown on us to basically put the nail in the coffin for us because of constant penalties on third down that don't exist. And then this game, you get 2 penalties on third downs where it was an incomplete pass, defense is off the field, where the ref said, not so fast, Saints. Here's a yellow flag for something that I just didn't like to see. I didn't like to see y'all stopping them. Marshawn looked cooked. I mean, I get it's Justin Jefferson, but we've seen this man lock up the best of them. And this was just not a good game from Marshawn. And I think Marshawn knows that. And I need to see him not give up a single catch to anybody next week. Special teams is god awful. They need help. Will Lutz, though, what a trooper, man. I can't be mad at him because he gave us that 60-yard kick. And God,
Not at
man,
all.
game of inches, bro. Just if it was even 60 and a half yards, it would have won it. It's
Oh
terrible.
yeah.
Terrible. The D line, though. The D line, if you remember me last week, I said they need to improve, and they stepped up, they improved. We actually seen Davenport and we actually seen Cam Jordan doing stuff affecting the quarterback.
We got some sacks this
On
week, Calvin. We got some
Got
sacks
some
this week.
sacks. We got some sacks, um, which I'm so happy about. And if we continue that, we'll be all right. The back end of the defense, I would say they're starting to get together communication wise. I'm not seeing as many busts, but they still need to be better. The O line improved dramatically. Cesar Ruiz actually had a good game. Dare I say it? Andres Pete didn't even play. Calvin Throckmorton had 2 penalties, but he's a backup. He ain't gonna really play that much anyway. Um, all in all, I'm gonna say once again, this is a game of coaching because this team should not be losing. And another point is Alvin Kamara, who I'm concerned with. Latavius Murray, though, real quick, absolutely amazing. I don't know why we started running goddamn Mark Ingram in the fourth quarter again after Latavius Murray was killing it out there. I'm pretty sure he was averaging like 5+ yards a carry, but I'm a little concerned about AK, man, because the man ain't getting involved. He's a superstar. We got to get him going because, I mean, his body language kind of looks like, when Drew Brees was out for those 6 games. He's kind of like, man, he's just out there right now. And I don't like seeing that. I'm a little concerned with him. I don't want him to request a trade or anything because we're not handing the ball. I mean, AK is older than people think. I mean, this is like his fifth, sixth year. Running backs don't really last that long. I mean, you see what's going on with Zeke. I mean, this man was a superstar, and now this man's getting outplayed by Tony Pollard week in and week out. And I'm hoping he gets it together. But with everything I said, if you improve the coaching, if the D line continues to trend the way that they're going, they build off of last game. If Marshawn has a bounce back game, if the offensive line can continue to improve, I think this is a game we come out with a win. I'm not gonna say a hearty win. We still might win ugly, but a win's a win. I think we actually can win by more than 3 points. So
Well, I mean, I can't argue anything that you said. Coaching is a huge factor. This week, yeah, I don't put it on the quarterback at all. The last few weeks, I've put it on coaching and quarterback play and offensive line play, which are just my three worries this year. Number three used to be D line, but now my three worries are now quarterback, coaching, and offensive line. But I think, I mean, for the record, I want to point out Dennis Allen is now 9-33 as a head coach. That's his record right now. He got his ninth win in the first week this year, and the other three losses was after week one. He's, I mean, come on, man. Now, I'm not, I'm not really calling for him to be fired just yet, but to be honest with you, if we stand Van Gundy, Dennis Allen after this year, I would not be upset. I would not be upset. But with that being said, we are at the end of the show, and I just have to, say a few things to a few people because I said I was going to say some things. I wrote some stuff out because, I feel some of this stuff needs to be said, and if I don't say it, then things will never change. First of all, I want to point out that I am not bending to anybody. I'm not. I'm not changing for anybody. I am who I am. That is that. And I also want to say this too. The first thing is you cannot discuss or debate with me if you have not seen any of our podcasts from beginning to end. Beginning to end. Because I feel like I say things on this podcast and people just don't see it. So after that, I also wanted to say this. It has been said by many across all social media platforms that all I want to do is see Jameis Winston, of all people, fail. It has been said that I have been praying, wishing, and begging and pleading for him to fail. That isn't true. It's far from the truth, actually. It seems people have me painted in a negative light, but I just want to address these people. People like, my friend Trey, Parker, Taylor B, Blakey, and many more, actually. I've heard you loud and clear, because, I mean, how could I not? And, of course, I have more to say. I have seen the flood of mentions from you guys. Because, like I said, how could I not? You're flooding my mentions. I want to say a few things and propose a few things as well. If you've actually invited me to a civil discussion, I would have joined. None of the discussions that have been on social media have been what I felt were civil. I would have joined, but although I am confused as to why I have to keep repeating myself for a second year in a row, I want everyone who views this to know, even though people have said these things about me, none of them are true. You cannot have this discussion and exclude my voice from it, but from my point of view, it seems I am not allowed to say what I feel or believe. I'd also like to reiterate I do not wish or pray failure or bad on Jameis or anybody for that reason. Here's my proposition to you guys that I mentioned. Come talk to me in person. That way you can actually hear my words and my voice from me and hear my tone. Look into my eyes actually and hear me being genuine. But it has to be a place of my choosing because I want to actually feel safe in my surroundings. I feel this is a fair proposal, but if you wish to do this, we can set up a day. If not, then there should be no more discussions until this happens, and that includes flooding my mentions. There is a difference between accountability and chastising somebody. I am a good person who wishes nothing for but peace and solidarity. And I feel this proposition I said is a fair one. If you wish to set this up, please just DM me. My DMs are open. Like I said, I feel this proposition is a fair one, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody for listening. And I'm going to end it on that.
Well,
And
actually, we're not going to end on that.
I'm just going to ask you if you have anything else to add.
Yeah. Shout out to your Edgar Allan Poe moment. Real shout out there.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Thank you.
Um, just for you LSU fans out there, Seven Banks, as of 3 minutes ago now, he's going to miss 5 to 6 weeks after
Hmm.
suffering a spinal cord bruise. If a spinal cord bruise is taking you out for 5 to 6 weeks, only imagine what four fractures in your back would do to you. So just remember that,
Thank
everybody.
you.
For the Saints, I got this just two words for you: get healthy. There's a war of attrition. Like I said, I'd rather this be happening now than 10, 12, 15 games in where we need it. Right now, we can come back from 1-3, everybody. There's no panic yet because we are only one game, believe it or not, from first place in the NFC South at 1-3. So get healthy. Michael Thomas get healthy. I know Chris Olave got a little bone bruise he's dealing with. Um, Andres P get healthy. Trevor Penning has to be coming back soon at some point.
Hmm.
I believe it's talking about like 6 weeks or something. So he should be coming back soon. Um, hey, then all hands will be back on deck. AK should be fine. We gave him his rest. Keep Latavius on the team. Mark, your days are numbered, in my opinion. Here, I love you, but get healthy, man. Get healthy. That's all I got.
Last thing I'll say is it's Andy Dalton season, you guys. Red Rifle. I love the background, Calvin. So with that being said, I am Logan Graffia. He is the fantastic Calvin Rhymes, and we shall see you guys next week.